Same thing.
There we go.
Quite a bit of interest in the last probably 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
So my question to the board is, are you guys marketing those? Do you want them marketed? I would love to do it again for you if possible. I think the market's a lot better than it was, when they were marketed before, and there's quite a bit of interest. And there's a lot more going on in town now than there has been in the past, so. My question is, do you want to list them to sell them, or you want to sit on them, or, what are you doing?
Yep, good question. I don't know the answer.
Well, it's been 6 years, since you guys have, actively marketed that property, which it's, I think the town would be advised to, put the money in the bank and, get someone on the tax rolls, I think would be a really good idea. So that's my take today.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that I have put forth before the board and before the community was the need for affordable housing, workforce housing here. And one of the prime spots, obviously, that the town owns is the industrial business park. We have one of the owners here, Billy and Kevin. Initially, Kevin was, opposed to it, then he was in favor of it. And I think, Billy, you're taking the building over now, so Dad said, kind of, we want to keep the business there, we're not so interested. Kevin and I just had this conversation, Kevin Sullivan and I had this conversation at the post office on Thursday. I had talked with the other owner, actually, he called me, Mike Donahue Senior, and he owns 2 lots there, and Mike said I'd sell for housing. My first goal was obviously to get the property on the tax roll. It's sitting vacant, what, 2005, Tammy, 2006, I think it was zoned for industrial.
No, business park,
A business park.
industrial.
Okay,
It's-
excuse me, business park,
Excuse me, there's covenants on the deed, it's not just a zoning issue.
right.
Right,
That's
Right.
correct.
No, and that's what I'm going with. So consequently, that was one of the things that we had discussed, we as a board had discussed, and I had 2 community meetings with, I think, roughly 2,300 employees were represented by the group that was here. The Mountain Club, Alex Ray, Dave Rogers, business community, what have you. And, everybody thought it was a good idea. We had somebody from the state here. We had somebody from North Country Council here who gave us some statistics. In fact, there was just a statistic come out last week that said New Hampshire needs 23,000 more units of affordable / workforce housing. I don't know, and with the covenants, and Kevin and I had talked about this last week, and I did mention it to you, Karina, I believe, after my conversation, that there are certain covenants that run with the land. And whether it would be a planning board or whether it would be somebody that would have to look at it legally wise, which would be a good idea.
I would think you'd have to look at the deeds. for
Yeah.
sure.
right.
Exactly, to see whether or not it could be done. You don't want businesses moving out, you want businesses moving in. So consequently, it's been sitting vacant for so long. Businesses haven't moved in. Maybe now the economy is changing. The whole structure of this community is changing.
Absolutely.
So, that's a possibility. Kevin and I had the conversation and he said, we talked with Billy about it. Could businesses of some type peacefully coexist with some housing there? I don't know the answer to that. I guess it all depends on what type of business. As you know, and Kevin and Billy know, we all know, there are certain restrictions, covenants in there. And one of them was the requirement that there'd be at least, I think, at least one on-site person. Two, Kevin, okay. So there had to be 2 on-site people there all the time. One entity that came before us, I believe, OJ, was not going to have any individuals sited on the property. They were going to use it for a staging ground, more or less. I think it was a contractor, to be honest with you. Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
Well, isn't that what Donnie's doing right now?
Well,
Isn't that what everything?
I don't know what he's
Oh,
doing.
I do.
Okay,
I'm telling you, there's never anyone there.
no.
We're there every day, we know it's there.
Remember, I wasn't here then,
So
so,
my-
you know,
I mean, that argument is good, I hear what
Yeah.
you're saying, but
well,
it
if
makes
that's,
no sense, because. So say you have a shop with contractors and it's got 10 people working for them, let's say Jimmy. Jimmy from East Branch wanted to put up a
Martin.
shop, right? And all his guys go to work during the day, right? And he goes out for lunch. He's violating the restrictions on the site, that's ridiculous.
but,
It's-
you know, if
Well,
I,
that's my point, it's like, it's a ridiculous,
I didn't write the
Okay.
covenant, I didn't write the
We don't
covenant.
disagree with you,
okay,
but, okay, so now what?
well. I'm just saying that-
You would need to, if you were to market these, you would need to disclose the,
Yep.
the terms that are,
Absolutely,
that are on, and included in that is this term that's ridiculous, as per your opinion.
yeah,
Okay, just,
well, it is ridiculous. And I don't think it would be just my opinion.
I
I
said, I
think
agree
it'd
with
be
you.
stuff that it could
I
be
agree.
modified, actually, very easily.
It should be, I agree.
Could be easily modified by the town.
It would involve all of the property owners there.
Yes,
The town.
Yeah.
The town is just a landowner equal to the other two landowners,
Well, all the
In-
property owners is 2 people, right?
well, three, the town and 2 other
Yeah.
individuals, right? Would have to agree to
Yeah.
any terms that get changed.
I believe that when this business park was built, we needed a place for businesses in town. Now we need workforce housing. We don't need more businesses. We don't have the employees to work them anyway. I think my opinion is the best of both worlds could be had here. We still have 2 good sellable lots, 2 and 4, the ones before your place.
Between us and Burnley.
Correct, yeah, and, you know, if we sacrificed, I think it's number 5, across from you as a turnaround or something, the rest of it can be partitioned, fenced, shrubberies, trees, something. And still have room for some workforce housing. There is another access to that property on Connector Road in between the Liberties and Dumont's. So it's possible to have the best of both worlds here. I think if you have someone that is interested in lots, I would be all for, you know, selling lots 2 and 4. We've already got a business there that's beyond those. It makes sense to do that. I think Donahue's deed is different than the rest of the deeds. I don't think his is the same. Because his deeds were, his 2 lots were payment for developing it. So his deeds are different.
They're not the same.
No, I don't believe
I
they
do,
do.
they do. But,
I'm sorry, what did you say? How are they different?
His 2 lots were payment
I know what they,
for developing it.
how are they different?
I don't think he has all the full covenants that the rest of the lots do, and I don't know why that's coming up.
I think,
James looking,
no, I think it's the same.
I think
is it?
99.
For some reason, I didn't think it was.
And I think I have a copy of them in my office. I think they're the same, because I think, didn't we
Are
pull
they?
them?
Yeah,
when
we
first
did.
started
I have
talking
copies
about.
of them.
Yeah.
Okay,
Back at it.
then I was wrong. For some reason I was thinking his were different.
No, I think.
Maybe it's just because of the fact that it was payment and not a purchase. I'm Thinking. But I do think we can have the best of both worlds here. If we
Well,
sacrifice
but-
1 lot for turnaround for businesses,
Well, Kevin had looked into possibly purchasing another lot adjacent to your property.
Pre-COVID, we were interested in purchasing
Yeah.
lot 4 to expand.
Right.
Right.
Excuse me?
Between us and Burnley, next door.
Yeah, the next one over from Monday.
and then COVID came in,
And then we
Yeah.
came and kind of,
sure.
it's not. It's not something we've even discussed recently because, but
Sure,
it's still a possibility, I guess. As
Well,
far
I
as
think,
like one of the problems when you mix housing with a business area. I mean, I've got trucks, big trucks coming in delivering steel and. Sometimes Sunday mornings it gets a little bit loud. I'm working, the doors are open in the summer. I don't want to, I wouldn't be because it's a business park. I don't want to hear people complaining, hey, you gotta put restrictions on this guy. That's not fair.
no,
I agree.
I would agree. You were there first.
So you put housing in there, then I get restrictions, then I get people breaking in and stealing tools and.
I think you're
It's a
gonna,
business park.
Sorry.
One more thing I just wanted to add in, because this is, I don't know what year it was. Where are we now? Probably 7 years ago now, 6 or 7 years ago. The company from Littleton that does low-income housing,
They had,
they did.
They do
propose-
workforce housing is what we're
Well, you
looking
can
for.
call it whatever you want, but I call it low income, and
Well,
it's-
because it's workforce.
well, I'm not, fine, I'm wrong. I think you are wrong about a lot of things, but we won't go there.
Oh,
They came
I
into the
don't
presentation,
get. Sorry.
and I remember talking to you afterwards, you said this was the most. People in this town, the most thing they were opposed to. Ever that you could remember. They came out in force opposed to that, putting housing back. So I don't know if that much has changed on that.
I mean, doesn't the town have other property? Why would they wanna, rezone that? That's
One
why
thing-
I don't understand.
one thing, Kevin, I mean, from my perspective, when I brought it up initially and Kevin was there, I mean, and he had indicated at that time that, he was willing to sell or
I
do
would
something, or do
consider-
something with the property, build a house there even,
Maybe.
or an apartment, couple of apartments. I think the fact that it had lied dormant for so long with not a bit of tax revenue coming in other than 2 people out of what's it, 9 lots down there? I think that was one of the issues that I said, okay, where can we look at property that's being underutilized by the town and make it productive? And that a number of people said, that would be the ideal spot. So that's when we discussed, possibly doing that. Nothing's cast in stone here. I mean, there's a process if that were to come
Yeah.
place.
Well, I mean, there's property at the bottom of Mansion Hill. I mean, what's wrong with that?
That's residential. That makes.
That's where right now the police station is going.
Well. That's my whole point. It's like, you could put a police station there. Why didn't you put the housing? The housing, that was a perfect
Well,
spot.
they had a, well, they,
When I did their presentation, they proposed it there as well. First hearing. The second hearing, that was off the table because somebody in that neighborhood apparently didn't want it. So that was scrapped right away. That's the residential area.
I think Kevin,
That's our job, is to listen to people and make decisions based on the town.
I
And,
understand.
yeah, there could have been a police station there, and then we were talking about, access and a visual presence and some of the other things. It made more, and the size of the lot. Instead of putting a police station on this lot, we put a police station on this lot. I mean, land use just seemed, there's many reasons. Okay, it was not because of any individual or behind the scenes thing. I hate when that gets brought up because we do all our stuff right here.
Well, I just think that.
And-
Oh, I just said
there were other
I just said that
things,
take it off the table.
to answer Kevin
Go ahead.
Beckner, there was a committee of townspeople.
Yeah.
And I think, Karina, you were the representative from this board and you were neophyte when you started in that whole process, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, it was a lot of citizenry input into that. We didn't make a decision until they brought it to us and said, here's what we feel is the best. And the size of that lot too, made for future potential a fire station going there, i.e. a public safety complex. And that is one of the goals there. And like OJ said, the access potentially down the road, if a fire station got there, you potentially going right onto 93 with, with another access from the state, if the state would approve something like that. I don't know that for a fact, but anyways.
Well, I guess, not spending a lot of time on this, but I guess the town hasn't decided what they want to do with the property is what I'm hearing right now. And that the only way that it could be actively marketed is if one of the agencies in town came in and said, hey, sign a listing agreement, we can try to resell this stuff. If you guys are interested in doing that, I have some potential clients. I can't say they're gonna throw the money at it today or tomorrow. But there's been quite a few inquiries on the property in the past 6 months or so. And a lot of interest, mostly from contractors around town. There's a lot of contractors, there's a lot going on around here. People need, like service bays, places to meet their staff in the morning, have a little office space. And keep their equipment there, you know, and they all have multiple people working for them. Which I think is, you know. A really good thing, and it probably cleans up a lot of stuff in people's houses and yards. You know, there's a lot of contractors who work out of their house that would prefer to have a little spot like that, you know?
Yeah, and for the record, Kevin, we are welcome to neighbors. As business people, we love seeing other businesses doing their thing, and I really have no issue thinking of another business coming into the park, and if you can list it with the current covenants or.
Yeah.
Start looking into changing the covenants and list it as a business park with a different deed restriction, maybe you would get even more interest for clients like that.
Well, I think.
Our concern would be to have residential area within our operating area with, I mean, the deliveries go around the cul-de-sac currently. I'd imagine with housing down by the cul-de-sac, it's gonna get constrained pretty quickly, so. The interested parties that are business owners, to me, I would love to see more business owners in the park. Going forward, I'd love to see the business park full with businesses. I think it's a great location for it.
Well, at one time Bernie was interested in buying
Right.
two or three of the lots there, and I kind of went by the wayside.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, Spano said it was a spray foam. But he wasn't bringing enough employees.
so the way I
I
see
know
it,
people
like,
that want to build mini storage, that would be a spot
Yeah.
for them.
The storage wouldn't work there.
the way I
I
see
mean,
it,
it'd work, but it wouldn't
It
fit the
doesn't mean,
guideline.
it doesn't meet the guidelines, exactly.
Yeah.
well, that's the way I
Help
see
you with
it, would
employment.
be like, it could be listed with the current covenants.
Adjusted.
Or listed after they're adjusted, and
I don't think it would hurt to go over the covenants and restrictions again in a public forum and maybe redline a couple of them, you know, that.
Well, what I had suggested to Karina after my and Kevin's talk last week was that, you know, we have our attorney look at it and just see what it would take to change the covenants. Again, not saying that this board is committed to affordable housing there, workforce housing. And that's the term that's properly used as affordable housing, not low income housing. I grew up in it. So consequently, you know, I think that if we get an attorney's opinion, and like Billy just said, you know, if you were going to market it, it's got to be done tastefully so that you're not having kids play in yards where, you know, steel's being delivered by big trucks. Can that be done? I think properly it can be done. But again, if we've got, you know, a group of business people that want to buy into it, maybe we look at that and you just change the covenants so that, you know, people can work together and provide jobs for the local community. I mean, that's one thing that we need desperately, as you know, Kevin, is workforce housing. We're
Well, I
building.
have my own opinion on that stuff personally, but.
We're building three hotels. There's a potential 72 units going here, you know.
But aren't the business owners responsible for housing their own people?
Absolutely.
So what's the problem?
Well, when you weren't, I'm sorry, I didn't invite you to the meeting. Because that's what I said. If you, the business people, you're the ones that benefit from this. You know, but by the same token, the town benefits because they've got an income coming in, they've got jobs coming in, they've got people spending money in restaurants and things like that.
But they don't benefit
Let
at all.
me finish, Kev. I talked with Jeff MacGyver one night, and he had 100% occupancy on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Those rooms didn't get cleaned till Wednesday because of the lack of staff, so they lost 2 nights, the businesses lost. But the people that would have been working there, they lost those days because they didn't have enough staff to do that. People in the restaurants, you know, they can't fill the rooms. There's not people to go to the restaurant. You and I know Dunkin' Donuts have a sign, no labor, we're closing at 3 o'clock. The restaurants here are closing 2 nights a week in some cases.
It's a national issue, Jack. It's not.
No, and I'm not saying it's not, Kevin. But we can make it a local issue and try to address it in some state, some form. I'm not saying it's a panacea, it's gonna solve all the problems.
Yeah,
No way.
I didn't want to get down this road, but there are plenty of business owners in town that do have sufficient housing for their health. And it works for them because they made the investment over time to buy properties to put their people in their housing. I mean, there's some really good business owners in town that have taken care of that situation themselves, and then there's some people that expect. The town, like we are right now, talking about, putting their staff in housing that we're trying to build for them.
I don't think, I think the miscommunication that's happening right here is the town's not proposing building housing. The town's just proposing changing the zoning to
Correct.
allow housing there, to allow a mixed use, but
Yeah.
not for the town to raise funds to construct buildings.
But that's what's happening.
That's not what's happening.
Well, Jack's proposing workforce housing, probably federal grants, that type of thing. right?
No,
But
no.
not us
wait a minute.
building,
Not the town doing it.
I understand that part, they're not physically doing it, but they're.
not our money either.
No,
Mm,
and,
It just, I mean, you.
No, I understand the need for housing.
Prove that, Kevin, but-
I've been here almost 30 years, I know all about it.
Okay, but in the same way that, the Hampton Inn builds the Hampton Inn. They did that whole thing and paid for it. We just have it zoned that allows that.
Yeah.
That's.
and the other thing, Kevin, too, is it's not just for people to come here and work here. I mean, you talk with some of the people that have been here, that their kids are growing up here. They don't have a place to live. Billy, am I right? You're looking for a place to live. They can't find a place to live that's affordable. So again, we're not talking, monstrosity buildings like South Peak. We're talking something that people that's making an average wage can afford to live in the community where their parents are or where they grew up in. So I mean, it's not strictly for workforce. I like the term affordable better than workforce.
And so do I, and I think the need for affordable housing is significant. But I also think that the business owners have got plenty of money to house their own employees wherever they want in town. Well, they should have made the investments over the years to make sure that that was taken care of. And like I said, some have and some haven't.
And that's continuing every day. You and I both know what Loon bought, what Dave Rogers bought, what Scott Rice bought, what Herman bought. I mean, we know all of those things. We see behind us, this going to be turned into some units here. Dave Rogers' property is going to be turned into some units here.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I can't go
Most
to
of the people that are looking for housing, most of them, if they wanted to, they could give up a couple of rooms and put their employees wherever they wanted to, if they're housekeepers or whatever. They could all do that. They could all find a place, but they want, I'm not gonna say something for nothing, but they want someone else to deal with it.
Well, no,
That's my point.
one of the things when, again, the theme of this group, and Kevin was there, he'll attest to it, was that, there's two options to go. Form an LLC of the power brokers that have the money. Form a nonprofit. Nonprofit, too restrictive for what we want. Then you get people that aren't in the community that have a right to live there because that's what the federal laws state. You can't discriminate. But if you form an LLC, you can set your own guidelines, just like the park has its own guidelines that this town set. So consequently, that's where it would go. But again, I'm not one of the business owners. I'm just listening to the business owners and listening to the townspeople
And I also,
and listening to you.
I mean, I deal with both sides of this argument all day, every day, just about. So. It's just my opinion versus somebody else, Like I said, I don't want to go down that road, but here we are, so.
All right,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm pretty neutral on this, to be honest. I mean, I think ideally, to me, the affordable housing makes sense. But on the same using your logic, if we did that, all of these people that might be interested in locating at the business park, they can find other things in town. Or outside of town or near town, just like workers can. I mean, so.
Yeah.
One side of that equation doesn't persuade me more than the other. I think the bigger need right now is housing, and I think that would be an ideal. With that being said, I'm not opposed. It was built as a business park, and I listened to people at the town meeting.
Yeah.
And they voted, because this was brought before the town meeting for that last sale, and they voted it down. And I'm not sure why people voted no. I don't know, what reason. You can't ask me, why did you vote no? Why did you vote no? But some of the conversation was around that whole thing with the deed restrictions of it being a contractor who's gonna just, store his ladders and tools in this building and leave every morning was against the easement.
But he has 4 or 5 or 6 employees. What's the problem?
It's one side.
It's against the easement. There is no problem, to me.
I understand because one person needs to stay against that.
I'm trying to interpret what went on a few years ago, and so my point as representing people in town is, I think the easement was not worded correctly, and it didn't seem like it was derived from the intent of the conversations that led up to it. Okay, I think there was a lot of conversations about storage units.
Yep.
They did not want that to be 5 acres of storage units.
Yep.
And they put in this easement to stop that, and what that easement did is it also prevented every
A
electrician,
lot of other types of things.
contractor, they all can't be in there now because none of them fit the way that easement was worded. And the town voted just a few years ago to uphold that, so we can look at changing it, I'm
I
totally
think
open
that
to
would be
that.
a great idea, to be honest with you. I think it's too restrictive, to be perfectly honest. I understand that, you need to have a number of employees. I get all of that. But, there's lots of places that have got condominium contractor base, people buy. That has a garage, you drive your truck in,
A lot
all
of
your shit
places.
stays inside. You got a little office for your secretary, everything goes upstairs, the lunchroom, whatever. Right? But you've got 8 people on the road fixing air conditioners, they're doing what they do.
Right,
I mean. Why? That makes no sense to me. I mean, my word was ridiculous, so I'm gonna stick with that.
and that's fine, we should let the people back in 2004 or 5, whoever wrote that.
I mean, you could even have one person go in and put up a 3-bay. Garage with, and lease 2 out and use one themselves or something like that. I mean, why wouldn't you be okay with that? You'd have. Probably 15 employees using, one lot then. I mean, it'd be kind of. Silly not to let something.
Was there talk at one time to commercial property going in there? Was it the sale of motorcycles, ski mobiles or something like that?
Not that I know. But there could be a
Repairing,
automobile repair shop would go good in.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, repair, maybe not sales.
At one point Spectrum was interested, but it wasn't big enough. A lot's not big enough.
Yeah.
For what they wanted to do.
Why didn't they buy 2?
The access.
Oh, no, I think they would have bought them all.
The access point for Burnley wasn't correct, and they
Yeah.
would have had to buy Mike's lot at the time. I don't think Mike was receptive to that. And the access coming in from. The road that goes in there, I forget the name of the town.
Or didn't.
Yeah, from Divner. They would have had to cut another driveway for an in and out for Bernie to be able to use it the proper way they wanted to use it. That was the reason that Bernie kind of backed off on buying 3 lots of it. I don't know, it's just throwing it out there.
I honestly think that if we're gonna go proceed with selling the lots, we need to straighten out the easements.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think now is the time to do it. If we half fill it with people who abide by the current easements, and now then we say, well, let's change the easements, there's gonna be more people to bring to the table to,
Well, there's you, him, and Mike.
right, and I'm saying if you sell 3 more lots,
2 of them
we'll
here.
double that amount of people at the table. So I'm saying before
Yeah,
we go out
before
and
they get sold. Yeah,
advertise
yeah.
this, was my point.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Step 1 is look at the easements and make any
So there's
potential
one, yeah.
revisions. And then go forward with any
I
kind
think it would make the property more valuable, to be honest.
But you have to talk to the current owners too, because they were forced to live by.
Like I said, 1, 2,
Right.
and
That's
Mike.
why we're here.
of, in my,
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah, so I didn't think we were gonna be.
I got an email with the agenda.
So, yeah, so I'm just saying, the only person that's not here to talk to is Mike Donahue. I haven't spoken to Mike, so I don't know what his take would be on it, but. I would think it would only benefit Mike, in the future.
Well, like he said to me, he actually had plans drawn up a number of years ago to put some units of housing on his 2 sites. And he said to me, Ed, now this goes back probably a year ago, less than a year ago, that we talked, and he contacted me. you know, to say he'd be in favor of that point in time of selling all that. He said, I can move my woodlot business somewhere else.
So Jack, you mentioned earlier that after our conversation, that the town has an attorney to
Right.
ask him for an opinion.
And after our meeting, I called Karina and said.
Right, but has that been done? Has the attorney been asked?
We've
No,
not
we
done
were
that.
gonna bring it up at the next meeting,
Oh,
so the board could vote.
The board has to,
Oh, the board has to.
I gotta unilaterally make decisions, I better not.
Essentially, I didn't want to waste money on an attorney if we weren't going down this road, you know, I mean, if the board had no interest in changing.
And the town attorney can say one thing and my attorney can say something
Exactly.
different, and then we can go to court for 10 years.
Well, no, but
Spend all Billy's money.
the last 2 years, we've been talking about that lot as workforce housing. We haven't talked about that lot in regards to like changing the deed restrictions. So,
More business.
right, so it's kind of was a pivot in the direction they had been looking for the last year. So there wasn't, if we are now going to pivot again, if that's what the board wants, we can look into how we change the restrictions.
I mean, somebody approached me and just asked me like, how is it in here? And he wanted to build a building for his shop with housing on the second floor. He knew it wasn't allowed, so he never made an offer and he just moved down the road and built it down the road
Yeah, I think,
where it is allowed.
and I think that's a good idea. Housing there is not a good idea,
I agree.
mixed with,
I think you'd be surprised that a lot of businesses or individuals would want a space like that.
I
If it
think
was
so too.
available
Yeah.
to them to do what they needed
Yeah.
to. Staging for a contractor, whatever.
I
what
even
have
think,
you.
Given the climate here right now, that if you did something like a 2 or 3 stall building with 2 or 3 offices in there, let's say I bought it, built it, invested in it, and wanted to lease it, to 2 contractors, 1 contractor, why would that be a problem? I don't understand that. That would only make perfect sense to me. It would be full all the time. I mean, people that need, the Tommy Saborns, all those guys. the plumbers, the
We
electricians.
made none of these
Brain
comments
contractors.
at the town meeting when it was basically up for a vote.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I can only say, I wouldn't be here wasting my time if my phone wasn't ringing and people were knocking on my door about it. So
Right,
that's the reason I'm here. So, because
You'd
I
be out on the
wouldn't mind
golf
making a
course,
few
I
bucks
know.
myself.
Kevin, you'd be out on the golf course practice.
Well, let's be honest, right? So, I mean. I don't know, I'm not looking for an answer today because I know I'm not gonna get it, but I just want to put it on your plate, you guys can deal with it, and
yeah, I mean,
whatever gets.
I'd be happy to pursue, and I think we actually owe the town. The pursuit of looking at, what does the easement mean? Enforceable by law wise, and what changes would we need to make to be able to put a contractor, an electrician, a painting company, whatever, in there. I mean, for the last, since that was built, those are the companies that have thrived in this town. Okay, the air conditioner fixer, all those people.
There's more demands than ever.
Okay,
And it's gonna continue.
And it's gonna continue.
Yeah.
now, what do we have to do to, what wording changes do we have to make to allow those? Number one, and then what process do we have to go through to adopt those? And again, whereas the town spoke against that at the town meeting. And this is their land, I think it's gonna go back through that process again, but let's line it up to get there.
Kevin and I have approached others in the community that have large tracts of land. To see if they would be willing to, and I did this on my own. And, the answer was no, and not for housing, they just want to hold on to land. That being said, somebody contacted me the other day and then, did you see there's 600 acres going up for sale in Lincoln? I said, no. Are you aware of that?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, I am. Well aware of it, 9.6 million, yes,
How much?
9.6 million. It's the remainder of Forest Ridge. It's the Forest Ridge property.
Does that tie into the Clark's parcel too?
I believe it goes all the way up to Route 3 on the other side.
It no, it
Pretty close.
touches David Clark's parcel,
Yeah, it goes up around the back.
Yeah, because his parcel is 300 acres.
correct.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it's 645 acres like it was stated, but I think the whole property with what's developed already might be that size.
Yeah,
The remainder might be, 400, something like that. I don't know.
yeah, because
I'm just grabbing at
the
straws.
ultimate permit there, I think, was 400 units, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a pile of units could be built there. and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
$10 million, so. And some of them will probably step up to finish that project at some time. But that's a whole nother can of worms. There's a pile of crap going on over there right now,
Right,
Oh, yeah.
right?
we're well aware of that.
Yep. I'm sure you are.
And Ahead is building in Woodstock.
Correct.
I don't think they've actually started yet, but it's.
Yeah, and then there's a Nova 55 mobile home park going over there too.
All right, that new clear cut area on.
Yeah.
Route 3.
Yep.
Exactly, Bill.
I mean, there's land in Woodstock to do
And there's no zoning in Woodstock either.
affordable housing. It'd be a lot easier to do. I got a nice 10-acre parcel that you could put 50 units on today if you wanted to. Right on Route 112.
Do it.
I'm just saying, if people are looking for land to do affordable housing, there's an option, but Lincoln shouldn't be one of them, to be honest with you. I think the land's too valuable, to be honest. That's my take.
All right,
Well,
well, let's take that as the next step and we'll see what we can do to proceed and maybe by next March, we'll be ready to have a town meeting agenda item.
Maybe before that. You never know.
We could have a
It
special
may not be
meeting.
a town meeting.
no, you don't
What?
propose that, especially.
Well, I mean, to change the covenants or restrictions shouldn't be a town vote. Why would that be a town vote?
They're the ones who it's their land.
Just to change a covenant?
They approved them. I think they have to, just,
Again,
Yeah, it's a legal thing, yeah.
it,
Talk to your lawyer. I mean.
I agree with you. I disagree that the easement was well written. I mean, the easement was poorly written.
Yeah.
It did not follow, if you go back and read the minutes leading up to the business park, it did not follow the arguments that were being used. It seemed to me, in my opinion, in reading all that stuff, that it was geared towards self-storage units and that it was miswritten, that it blanket covered things that it was supposed to allow plumbers and electricians.
Mhm.
With that being said, our town voted against allowing a contractor in there a few years ago. It's their land. So when you say, why do we need to bring it back before the town
I
meeting?
understand
It's
that.
because they voted against this. And I'm not gonna stand up here and vote for something, even if I think it's right, that they voted to turn down. It's not the way it works.
oh, and you have to listen to the
Okay.
current owners. I mean, that's, Kevin, Billy,
I get it.
and Mike.
So, I mean, the legal opinion would make the difference and you guys figure it out. I mean.
Exactly.
All right, we'll take that step.
I'm just curious, are you at the point of authorizing, I don't know how that all works, like. Do the two of you have a vote right now to tell?
Yeah,
Karina
yes,
To go ahead and talk to the lawyer?
yeah,
Are you in favor of talking to?
I'll make a motion.
And I'll second that we go forward and talk to Jason Dennis about the
Reviewing
current
the deed
wording and
restrictions
what
and-
wording and process do we need to take to go forward? All those in favor?
Aye.
There we go.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Gary.
Yeah, you done with the business part for today?
we are.
And thanks for coming in and bringing this to our attention. It's always good to have a good conversation. Thanks, Billy.
Thank you.
Billy, I like the hoodie. I got one of those.
Oh, yeah, Mom, it's in there.
Yeah.
Take care.
All right, do you want to go back? Wayne, did you have anything?
That what?
Did you have anything you wanted to talk about? Just-
No, I'm just here to listen.
All right,
Do you have any questions after that?
I think it was a very interesting discussion. I know in this town, as you do living here, that many times you have something in your house that needs to be fixed. You've got to go to Plymouth. You got to go to Campton, you got to go to Thornton to get help. I would intuitively, I would agree that if the town is growing as it is, that it needs more businesses to support it. Does that make sense? You guys, that's what I think you're saying.
It does.
I also understand the affordable housing, I mean, go hand in hand.
And you know, I mean, there's so many people out there that are looking for work. But they're not trained to be the technicians that, you know, I mean, everybody in town is looking for employees.
Yes,
But they don't have the training of the skill set that they're looking for.
Well, and you know, you would hate to. I would hate to see us change the zoning over there to allow workforce housing and have it sit as empty lots for the next decade, like it has, right? Because something shifts or something happens, or the business owners don't come together and purchase something or create an LLC or what, you know, I would hate to see that. So if there is an opportunity on the horizon to potentially sell those lots, I think the town then has to weigh the pros and cons and kind of balance out, you know, the risk versus reward on either changing the zoning or selling them as a business park or whatnot. You know, it's.
I mean, that's a very valid point. We could change the zoning. And we've already said, we're not gonna front the money to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
Right,
So then we go up, we talk to them and them and them.
we can
and then
encourage that and
10
we
10
can.
years later, we're sitting here with zoning,
You
but.
have to be an offer on the table.
Nothing else, right, yeah. So, you know, I think it's good to know that there may be interest in the property.
Oh, I think if the easements get changed or the deed restrictions,
Yeah.
I should call them. I think it's gonna be a lot easier to sell, because it's gonna appeal to the people who.
A
need
broader
that-
mass, yeah.
Need that, and we actually need them,
Mhm.
like you said, you know, electricians, Tommy said one over there, or
Yeah,
whoever,
well,
Mike Aaron.
And before us, before Mr. O'Connell.
O'Connell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, he, but it was shut down because he didn't have the.
On-site, right?
On-site person there. And like you said, I mean, there's painters in town. You know, the guy that's gonna fix the air conditioning, the appliance guy, we
Yeah.
don't have a appliance guy.
Yeah, they all need a place to stop.
right.
What's the cost of those lots right now? Is it uniform across the board?
Like the assessed value,
No, the actual sale, if I wanted to buy one today.
they're
We're
not
we're
listed.
not listed for sale.
They're not
The
listed.
last.
That's like having,
price
yeah.
was in this 70 range, 60,
I don't know, but yeah.
60 something range, I shouldn't say 70, between 62 and 70. Per lot.
How many lots are left, Jane?
9. Yeah.
9 out of 12. Because 3 would be sold.
Yeah, 8 or 9, I think it's 9.
No, I have a whole file for you on that.
Why aren't they for sale right now?
Because
You're educating me.
because after the last issue, it was like, do we want to go out? First of all, my goal has never been to lower the price until they sell so we can get tax money. That's not what that was.
Right.
Okay. It was, you know, what kind of businesses do we need in there?
Putting the appropriate. thing
Right,
there.
or do we want to put this, you know, maybe use this for workforce housing? And I was like, at this point, it's been sitting empty for 15 years. Let's let it sit empty and see if we can use this for workforce housing.
Yeah, or businesses, I mean, I was not aware that the units, if somebody came in and offered us, you know, could buy the whole parcel. I was not aware that somebody could do that. Or couldn't do that, excuse me, or buy 2 parcels, or buy 1 parcel.
If someone can come in and make us an offer, we're not out there soliciting.
We're not currently advertising.
Right, but if Jeff Daly come in and I want my electric company, or my electric firm to buy a lot there, and I'm gonna have somebody stationed there, meet the covenants, but I buy a lot.
I think you
can
come
in and
before the
make us an
board,
offer,
yeah.
and it would go before the board.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's not a listing that says lot 1 is
Correct.
200 grand, lot 3 is 400 grand.
Right,
Okay,
but there may be, once we find out about the deed restrictions.
okay.
Or,
So,
all right.
okay,
all right, oh, I was gonna do the minutes next, but let's okay with that.
I have a couple, I don't have a formalized town manager's report, but I do have a couple updates on some things. Okay, so this week I met with representatives from Eversource. Eversource is proposing a rather large upgrade to their structures and poles over the next 3 years. It will start down in Beebe River in Campton, and it will go up to Whitefield. They're doing it in 3 different segments. Our segment is essentially tip of Woodstock. It goes right through the National Forest. It goes over Kinsman, and it's about a 20-mile stretch. They said it's one of their most beautiful, but one of the most toughest terrains that they have to deal with. They are going through the Forest Service approval project. This was more of just an FYI. We want to let towns know that this will be coming. We are lucky in the sense that most of their permitting and almost all of their requirements will be regulated by the Forest Service and not necessarily the town. Some of the communities that they're going in, they're going on private lands with right of ways and all that kind of stuff. And for us, it's 100% in the Forest Service. So we don't really have much say as a municipality. But they want to make us aware and give us updates on the project. So that will be, they're proposing construction to happen in 2026. So just
That's not this, I mean, this is New Hampshire Co-op that owns these.
Co-op owns these, yes. Eversource goes like it almost kind of follows the interstate and then goes to the west side. Yes.
Okay.
If you look up at Kinsman, the big line going up
Oh, yeah.
Buck Pond area, that's Eversource.
That's Eversource, correct.
Right, they don't service this town, but they pass.
But they pass through, correct. Like I said, it was just more of an informative meeting that this is going to be on the horizon, and they just want all towns to know. Essentially, they're going to start in the north and the south. They're going to come together, and then they're going to do the toughest terrain last. So, just FYI.
We get tax revenue from them.
We do get tax revenue from Eversource. I think it's very minimal because it's just
Yeah, it's in comparison to the co-op.
the co-op or
It's,
right.
it's minimal.
It's very minimal, yeah, because the state, there's been lawsuits over the last, 5 years or so, how municipalities can tax utilities and whether they can tax on the distribution line is in addition to the infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. That's why, most of the towns are in lawsuit litigation with them for quite some time. So we do get revenue, but it's not very significant.
I was thinking because you have an upgrade, you ought to pay more taxes. just
Yeah,
like
that's
on
not
a-
how it
Okay.
works. Much larger lobbyists and pockets than most of the towns.
Well, it also works to our benefit because for the last 30 years, we've been charging on the old lines that are up there now.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's,
So just a brief update on that.
Okay.
I did submit a application to Grafton County for the 50,000 for the fire department evaluation and structural analysis and air quality evaluation. I added that as well. I emailed it to them on Friday, but I have yet to hear back. I think their county administrator's on vacation because I got a return and away from the office message, but that has been submitted so that hopefully we'll hear back on that soon. I also forwarded you last week, I believe, kind of a timeline for the South Peak Water Tank project. I don't know if you had a chance to review that. I did sign a contract with Horizons on Monday to do the additional survey work. They said that survey work will be done by May 1st. So,
Really?
yes.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
So, thank you to Longfellow for helping, coordinate that. So that was submitted on Monday, so that ball should be rolling, and the additional, I think it's 13 acres of survey work should be done in the next few weeks here. So
Fantastic.
that is good. And I did forward that timeline to Scott at Longfellow as well, so we're all on the same page and we all are moving forward together. So I did get tax current rates back. I don't know if I said this at the last meeting.
Interest rates?
Interest rates from Bank of New Hampshire. For a 10-year fixed is 5.65, 15-year 5.9, 20-year 6.2. I also have been in contact with Union Bank. They are putting proposals together for us as well. They're also going to put funding options together as a bridge payment or so something to where essentially we take money as we need it or some sort of construction type loan, where
Okay.
we don't have to take the full amount. It could be to either hold us over until we get additional funding or another grant or something like
Fantastic.
that. So she's going to put funding options together for both a traditional type loan or bond and then some sort of bridge.
Fantastic,
So I should see that, I would hope by the end of this week.
excellent.
And then the bond bank application is due on the 28th of this month. I am muscling myself through that. I am almost finished. I should have that done by the end of the week and that will be submitted, but it's, you know,
Fun.
it's not, yeah, I thought it was gonna be like this. Here's
Yeah.
simple application, but no, it's like they want 10-year of tax information and our highest taxpayers and the assessed value and our debt schedule for the next 20 years. And so it was a little bit more involved than I thought it was gonna be. But I don't envision having an issue getting it submitted by next week. So
Excellent.
What bank gave you those rates?
Bank of
this
New
was Bank of
Hampshire.
New Hampshire. And then Union Bank is gonna put together the like construction loan
Right.
proposals or the traditional loan proposals. Union Bank did say their rates will only be good for 45 days. So when she does produce them for us, we would have 45 days to act on it. And then they would, if we didn't take advantage of it within that 45 days, we'd have to get a renewed quote.
The new quote, yeah.
So.
Thank you.
No worries. And then I also did receive a report and I will forward this to you all from Ray Korber in regards to the supplemental site assessment from Novus and their further report. I'll be honest, I haven't read this thoroughly. It's a lot of information, but the long and the short of it is that they are suggesting we do additional site work and.
Are you kidding me?
I know, and that was my initial reaction as well. It says recommendations, based on this work, previous site assessments and discussions with DES. Should the town wish to proceed with site development, it is recommended that the town, first bullet point, complete additional site assessment work on the transfer facility site in the vicinity of the Burndy landfill to better delineate the extent of soil contamination in that location. Note that the site assessment work completed to date was limited to the area of the proposed park.
So their additional is for additional, actually acreage that they want to do.
Correct.
And this is in order to apply for the brownfields grant, they're saying,
They found high concentrations of lead where in the footprint of the old Burndy landfill. But the concentrations did not match historic data reported during the Burndy landfill closure. DES generally confirms remediation of lead contamination exceeding 4,000 mg, but will consider alternative forms of management if excavation is not feasible, and if the approach is supported by a remedial action plan. Yeah. Complete additional rounds of groundwater sampling testing to confirm groundwater quality at the site is in support of the future site remediation and redevelopment options. Prepare a remedial action plan for soil management plan. And then seek state and federal grant funding for remediation and cleanup.
so did they give us a estimate? Not expecting a proposal, but an estimate of what the next, what is this, round number 26? What is this gonna cost?
743.
No,
We need to find that out first,
but the additional
right?
work.
Because if they're talking, if they want to do more testing and it's $15,000, let's do it tomorrow. If they want to do it as 15 million, well, then we need to talk. So we need to know where in there.
Yeah, like I said, I was taken aback because I thought that this last round of assessments was going to be the last round of assessments. I thought this was going to get us to a point
Yes.
that.
We thought that when we had Caleb 10 years ago.
Well, and that's my concern is how much more assessment work needs, I mean, could this go on forever?
Oh, sure, it's DES, of course it could.
So, again, I think we need to talk about this more once I more thoroughly review it. I'll forward it to all of you. We can thoroughly review it and maybe we put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
If we do a Brownsfield grant for the cleanup, is the DES involved?
Yes.
Yes, Yes.
It's a DES grant. They hire Novus to do the assessment. And then they also hire whoever to do the cleanup.
But it's the EPA.
It's EPA grant, sorry, not DES,
Yeah,
EPA,
yeah.
excuse me, you're right.
That's what I'm,
I apologize. It's their whole.
he said in the last bullet point, it says applying for cleanup funding will require an approved remedial action plan and DES has to approve the remedial action plan.
can we get DES to give us bookends? Okay, because we can't say, okay, another 15 or 30, whatever it's gonna cost, and then they come back and say, well, now we gotta do this. What's the bookend? What's like,
They're not gonna
where do
give you
we
a bookend.
stop?
No, I think that's the whole point of the remedial action plan is for us to say, this is what we're doing and this is how we're going to address it. And have DES say yes, so then we can say, you already said yes to us, you can't make us do any more, or you can't make us
Are
go.
they gonna say yes if they're already requesting more testing?
I don't know if DES is requesting more testing or if
Novus.
Novus is
But
suggesting.
that's why I want to
Okay.
get DES involved. It's like,
Gotcha.
you know.
Yeah.
Are we good where we are, or is this Novus trying to get
In our pockets. Yeah.
more money?
Well, and it. Because I'm not super familiar with where the Burndy landfill was in comparison to where the proposed park is. I mean, it's all in the same lot, it's just the top of the lot and the bottom, in the middle of the lot, right? I mean, or closer, it's not like they are two separate lots on two separate
Yeah,
ends,
yeah.
you know, they're all in the
Landfill
same.
is that flat.
Is that flat, right?
level area right up at the top?
So I guess I would need further, explanation from Ray and Novus as to why they think that site warrants further assessment, if that's where we're gonna put a parking lot, or if we're not excavating it, or we're not developing it. I guess, why do we need to do further assessment there?
All right, who's the best person to talk to? Is it Ray or is it DES?
I think we need to start with Ray, because these recommendations are coming from Ray.
All right,
So let me ask Ray.
Start with Ray.
Let's maybe invite Ray to the next meeting, the first meeting in May, and
which is,
we can go from there.
Ray, thank you.
And maybe Novus, if he wants to invite Novus, he can invite Novus as well, right? I mean.
Yes,
Yeah. That would be great.
I just feel like, we thought the assessment work was done, and then we had to do more assessment, and now we gotta do more assessment, and now we gotta do more assessment. How many more assessments are we gonna sign ourselves up for, and at what price tag is that, does that mean? Because even in this last round, I think it was what, $45,000, and we just found that. Right, I mean, we said we can
Right.
we can find
made it
that in the
work,
money
right.
that's already been raised in some of our CIP funds and whatnot. We can't just
Keep doing
that, no,
Because
right,
if it's $25,000 5 times, I mean, come on.
come on, right.
Right.
Well, and we always think that this is gonna be the last one.
right, this is the last one.
This is the last one, this is
Every
gonna
time.
finalize things, like,
Yeah.
I was under the understanding that this was going to be done
Right,
after this.
and the other thing is, we might want to wait till next town meeting
Yeah,
and fund this in a separate warrant article,
agreed,
there's not money. It depends on what it costs, it's not money allotted in this budget, there's not money set aside in the CIP.
no,
And if it is another 300,000, can we get another brownfield grant to do that
The assessment,
assessment
right.
like we did with the last one?
sure, right.
Right,
Right, and that's,
That's a
why
good
didn't the
question, right.
Brownsfield grant cover
right.
Right.
these?
If
these
we
ongoing-
need that much additional assessment, then we want it done with an assessment grant.
Yes,
Yeah, we can go back. and
We
get-
can go back and get another grant.
exactly.
You know,
So
rather
see if
than,
we can And ask Ray if he can come up with, or have Novus come up with some specifics. Are we talking $3,000? Are we talking $300,000? What is the estimate on this next set of assessments?
You'll send that out. to us.
I'll send this all to you, yes.
Thank you
All right,
for that.
thank you.
And then the last thing I have for public is I did receive an email from Mark Bogosian, South Peak Resort, and we will forward it to the planning board, but they are in favor of updating their master plan. And they are working currently to do that. And that we made deliberate decisions to continue the hearing on the most recent project in front of the planning board until they have more progress on the master plan. So it seems as if we are moving forward in that space with the planning board and South Peak. So
Yeah, that was good. That planning board, that was one that lasted the 4 hours. When that was discussed.
When his previous, well, not the one, there's one
there's one in between.
one application
Yeah.
that's before the board now that
Okay,
they postponed it.
They-
from the-
they-
it was
yeah.
Supposed to be last week, and they
postponed.
postponed it,
Yes,
and that's what this.
And that's what that
The one
was.
that was before that has already been approved.
right.
Yeah, but I mean, that talked about updating the master plan in
Right.
there, and I think they had agreed at that point.
They had agreed at that point, but we hadn't seen anything in hand. We haven't seen anything live on paper. And so rather than make decisions based on something that's essentially imaginary at this point, we decided it was best, all parties involved, to get something on paper so we had a baseline.
But
And that is all I have for that right now.
There was, you guys went to court, did you not?
Oh,
Is that
we
maybe
did
public
go
or
to.
Is that public?
No, I think we need to do that in, we did have what we can say in public is that we had a hearing.
This is the Janine Wood.
It was a Janine
Thank
Wood
you.
hearing to discuss with the judge what would be amenable in court and what would not be.
Okay.
We can give you
Let's discuss
specifics,
that in
but
non-public. Okay.
the hearing was sealed until for other,
Court proceeding.
into the court proceedings, so.
Gotcha, okay,
I
that
can give you
makes, that
a-
makes sense,
We can give you an update in non-public.
that makes sense.
All right, minutes of the meeting.
That was mine,
My
my corrections are yours.
these are yours. Okay, you can make them if you want.
Line 29. Workforce housing / business part, no industrial. Take out the word industrial. It's a business park, it's not an industrial.
It's technically the name is a business park. And I believe the zoning refers to it as a business. park.
Business park, not industrial.
It's on the agenda.
Right,
State
Yeah.
inspection.
yeah,
I've seen documents,
And then lines 87 and 88, I'm sorry, 89. 87 and 89, it says pathway, installing benches on the pathway from Lincoln Green Apartments to Community Center, it should say roadway. Because they literally walk along the road, it's not really a path.
should we say roadside?
We can say roadside,
Okay,
on the roadside. I just didn't want people to think it's like a path through the woods. It's
Yes.
literally on the roadside. Yeah. That's all I had.
did you have anything?
I'll make a motion to accept the April 10th meeting minutes as amended.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye. We also have non-public for April 10th. And I'll make a motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes as presented.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you so much, Jane.
Tammy, do you have anything?
No, I was wondering about that. Yeah, that's all right.
Just one or two things.
Oh.
I did get an email in regards to the benches with pictures, proposed sites. And I'll share that with you. I'll send that along to you.
Oh, okay.
And then the other thing was, I had a conversation.
Wait, before we go any further. I thought from the last conversation that Nate was are we gonna have? I told Nate to look at fences and order a fence. I mean, look at benches
And I agree.
and order a bench. I mean, should I tell him to not do that now? I mean, do we have specific? aesthetically.
No, I'm in favor of Nate doing what Nate does, because he's gonna be maintaining them, he's gonna be moving
Right,
them if they need to be
right.
moved. I think this needs to be Nate's bag.
You got proposed locations?
Yes,
Did you get bench styles also
From who? Who was the email from?
from
Tammy?
Tammy Dutilly. Remember she had proposed one that actually on her property.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I talked to Nate about that location and he was fine with it as long as it's within the town's right of way or
Right.
whatnot. He was okay with location wise. I'm not too concerned. We can figure that out, but if she wants something that looks specific, I guess I need to know.
No,
okay.
there was not just pictures of where.
Oh,
Locations.
okay.
Remember the
Yeah,
trees across the street, she
Got it.
mentioned the two trees, sent pictures along with the name.
Yeah. Since bench isn't as ready, I just have to knock on a door and say, can you just point?
Okay, I heard that as pictures of benches,
No.
benches,
Oh,
like
okay.
the style of bench.
Location, like
No.
location.
No,
Okay,
Did,
Nate do get what Nate gets.
yeah, because he's gonna get someone order.
And he'll probably get something similar to what we already have in town, so that he's got one uniform.
well, we were gonna talk to Ben Clark.
Yeah, but that's, I think, more so for the skate park, a more permanent location. for
Along that
those.
area,
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
all right. And it wasn't Ben, I guess,
It's
I
Robert.
guess it's somebody else that's doing that.
Robert,
Huh?
Robert, Weatherall's doing them with Clark's.
Yeah, with Clark, right, yeah, because Tammy, Tara
Yeah,
talked,
Tara talked.
because I saw Tara the other day about that.
Yeah.
The second thing was, I saw Kevin Bell, and I don't know if he contacted you. And I told him, that we were pleased with what was going on, he was pleased with the site work done. And I said, have you committed any money yet? And he said, no. I said, well, here's something to talk to Karina about. The town had to rent some equipment. And if you want to start the ball rolling, you can pay for a portion of that with your money. It doesn't have to be the full amount. I don't know what it is. But then you can say to your lender or your grantor that, okay, we've started expending the money. He thought that was a good idea, so he was gonna call me.
okay, but aren't we under contract with them to do the site work?
But we had to rent some equipment to do it. So consequently, he'd be willing to reimburse the town for a
No.
portion of that.
Absolutely not. The town's MOA with the skate park is that we will prepare the site at the town's cost,
Yeah.
not the skate park's cost. The skate park is paying for the company to come in and build. the
Right,
park.
I'm aware of that,
So, no.
but I didn't realize that that would include any other costs such as renting equipment for that, so.
I mean. Legally, they would be the only one that would challenge us, right? You were supposed to be on the hook to pay for this. If they're willing to pay for it, I don't see why we wouldn't.
Yeah, we're not willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
No, I'm the treasurer on that
Huh?
board. I'm the treasurer of that board. We're not willing to pay for it.
Kevin said yes.
Well, I'll have a talk to him.
All right,
No, no.
let's let that organization.
But
Figure that
deal
out.
with that.
What he was trying to do, and my
To
suggestion,
prove that it started.
it started,
Yeah.
exactly, that's all, even if it was a penny. But at least they've shown that there's transaction of funds and the funds are committed.
Sure.
And he sent the pictures, so.
We've already signed the contract with the designers to,
Yeah.
for the design and
Would
construction.
see that, they were saying in some case they might not get there till next year, 24.
No, I thought they were committed through. I'll give them a call.
Have another talk, I
I
talked
will.
with him yesterday,
I will.
so. See what it is, but anyways, that's all I had.
All right, any public input?
I found this meeting very informative. I think your decision to go forward with the legal aspects of that business. Is important to get that out of the way, and then I totally understand letting the town make the decision as far as the usage. Is concerned. I think you made an important decision.
Oh, good, well,
Thanks,
thank you.
Wayne.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Wayne. It's good to see you here.
Thanks for coming.
Paul, is he still there? No?
No, did,
He left about a half an hour ago.
I saw him when it left, but I didn't know if we dropped.
No, I think, I think you can say participants down here.
Well, I'll make a motion to go to non-public for legal update. Correct, and personnel.
Personnel,
Yes.
Sorry.
all those in favor?
Aye.
So that can.
OJ and Jack, Karina and Jane, this is Natasha.
That's, oh, wait, hi Natasha.